Hello sports fans, welcome to Super Sports Central. Today, we're going to be going over my Week 2 college football predictions. So last week I had a record of 22-2, and obviously that is my season record, as last week was Week 1. But diving right in, beginning with Georgia hosting Ball State. So Georgia is dealing with some injuries to key players such as Dawan Edwards, Kendall Milton, Lad McConkey, and Samel Munden. Hopefully I said his name correctly. But I don't think those injuries will impact this game for Georgia at all. They got off to a little bit of a slow start last week against UT Martin, but ended up dominating the second half. I think that Georgia's gotten their feet wet a little bit. They're going to destroy Ball State, winning by a score of 52-3. Next game is Ohio State against Youngstown State. This is another game that should not be very close. Ohio State should win easily, but Ohio State does need to get their offense going, especially their passing attack. As last week against Indiana, they scored just 23 points and only threw for 237 yards, and also didn't record a passing touchdown. Now this week proves to be a good opportunity to get the offense going for Ohio State. And I'm not too worried about the offense right now, but if they don't break at least 40 points, I am going to be very concerned about their offense. But Ohio State should easily beat Youngstown State. I've got them winning 56-0. Next game is Delaware visiting Penn State, another game that should not be close. Penn State looked great last week in their season opening win over West Virginia. Delaware is an FCS team. Penn State should easily win this game, and they should prepare for Illinois and Iowa over the next 2 weeks as Big Ten play gets started. And Penn State gets the win here 52-3. Next game, we've got Troy visiting Kansas State. So this has the potential to be a very interesting game, because Troy was the Sun Belt champs last year, but they haven't played a Power 5 team since the opener last season when they lost to Ole Miss. Now, Kansas State is a great team, but they lost an early season game to a Group of 5 opponent last season when they lost to Tulane. So a very similar situation. Playing a good Group of 5 team early in the season. I could see potential for an upset here, because Troy ran for 342 yards last week in their season opening win against Stephen F. Austin. So stopping the run will be key for Kansas State. Now the Kansas State defense is very good, and their run defense was tremendous last week, allowing just 6 yards in their win over Southeastern Missouri. Now it is Southeastern Missouri, but Kansas State, I think they're a little bit better than Troy. They know what happened last year against Tulane. They're not going to let that happen again. They're going to be able to stop the Troy run game, and Kansas State wins this one 35-24. Next game, we've got Baylor hosting Utah. So Baylor is coming off an upset loss against Texas State, losing 42-31. And to make that even worse, quarterback Blake Shapen is out for a few weeks as he suffered an MCL injury. Now, Utah might be without their starting quarterback as well, with Cam Rising, as he's still recovering from a torn ACL he suffered in the Rose Bowl. But Utah looked great in Week 1 against Florida without Rising. Now they face a Baylor team that was not good and is also without their starting quarterback. Now, Utah is on the road, but they should still get the win fairly easily, 31-13. Moving on, we've got Notre Dame visiting NC State. So this is the first true road game of the season for Notre Dame, and it's also the first test after they've played Tennessee State and Navy in Weeks 0 and 1. And for NC State, they're coming off a very unconvincing 24-14 win over UConn. The key here for NC State will be control the line of scrimmage, but I don't think they're going to be able to do that. I think Notre Dame will have their way offensively, even against a good NC State defense. Now, NC State could have some offensive success because they've got a good dual-threat quarterback in Brendan Armstrong, and Notre Dame has struggled against mobile quarterbacks in the recent years. But I think Notre Dame will get the win here by a fairly wide margin and win this game by a score of 42-16. Next game is Nebraska visiting Colorado. So Colorado's the team everyone's talking about after their 45-42 win over TCU last week. They look great offensively. Their passing attack was unstoppable. Shedeur Sanders threw for 510 yards, and Travis Hunter is insanely good at receiver and corner. Now, Nebraska's coming off an ugly 13-10 loss to Minnesota, and I think Colorado is miles better than Nebraska, especially offensively. I still have major concerns about the Colorado defense, but this is Colorado's first home game. They're going to beat Nebraska, in the battle of the new head coaches, Deion Sanders will defeat Matt Rule, as Colorado wins this one by a score of 42-20. Next game, we've got Clemson hosting Charleston Southern. So Clemson needs a bounce-back performance in a big way after they were destroyed by Duke 28-7. They may have gotten shut out if it wasn't for a muffed punt that they end up scoring on, but Clemson desperately needs to figure things out offensively because they're going to need to score a lot more than just 7 points. And they have a good opportunity to figure things out on offense against an FCS opponent in Charleston Southern. I've got Clemson easily getting the win here, but it will be interesting to see how the offense looks and if they can figure it out. Clemson wins 49-6. Next game, we've got Michigan hosting UNLV. So Michigan will be without Jim Harbaugh for the second straight week as he is serving a 3-game suspension. Now, I don't really think that's going to make a difference for Michigan. They destroyed East Carolina last week, winning 30-3. They should be dominant against UNLV once again. Now, UNLV did get a good win in Week 1 but they gave up over 400 yards of offense against Bryant, and yes, Bryant is an FCS team. So I don't think a defense that gives up 400 yards to Bryant will come remotely close to stopping this Michigan offense, which can hurt you in multiple different ways. Michigan wins this one easily, 49-10. Next game, we've got Ole Miss visiting Tulane. So this is going to be a great game, and I feel this game isn't getting enough hype. So this game should be talked about because this is going to be a really good game. Tulane has a good chance to pull off the upset here because they're at home, they got a good quarterback, Michael Pratt, and a great defense, especially a run defense, which will be key in stopping star running back Quishon Judkins for Ole Miss. Now, the question here is, if Tulane can stop the run, can they keep up with the Ole Miss passing attack? Because Ole Miss threw for 524 yards in the season-opening win over Mercer. Now, it was Mercer, but still it's 524 yards. And as I said, Tulane has a great defense and a great quarterback. But I think Ole Miss will get the win here because they have more playmakers on the outside than Tulane. And quarterback Jackson Dart just has more help. Ole Miss gets the win. Their offense will be just a little bit too good for Tulane. But this will not be an easy win for Ole Miss going into a tough road environment. But I do have Ole Miss just sneaking out with the win, 34-31. Next game is Miami hosting Texas A&M. So this is going to be a tough game to predict. These two teams played last year when Texas A&M won 17-9. But these teams are a lot different than last year. Both teams were terrible last year and should be better this year. This is really going to depend on the Miami offensive line and if they're going to be able to run the football. Last week, Miami ran for 250 yards, but this is a very good Texas A&M defensive front. A true coin flip for me. I've got Texas A&M because I think they're going to be able to stop the Miami run game, but I've got Texas A&M winning 27-23. I also think A&M is the slightly better team. Next game, we've got Tulsa visiting Washington. Another game that should not be very close. Washington destroyed Boise State last week, throwing for 490 yards. This Tulsa secondary is not ready for Michael Penix Jr., Rome Odunze, and Jalen McMillan. Washington destroys Tulsa 52-10. Next game, Austin Peay visiting Tennessee. Tennessee picked up a nice win over Virginia last week, but their offense lacked the explosive pass plays that we got used to last year, as they had just one play that went more than they had just one pass play that went for more than 20 yards. So I would look for Tennessee to see if they can connect on that home run pass play. But Tennessee should easily be able to defeat Austin Peay, and they win 55-10. Next game, we've got North Carolina hosting Appalachian State. So this was a great game last year where both teams scored, I believe it was both over 60 points. But App State isn't as good this season. This one's also in Chapel Hill. North Carolina was great in the opener with a 31-17 win over their southern counterpart in South Carolina. But they should be able to beat App State here fairly easily. I would expect both teams to put up points. North Carolina's the better team, the better offense. They win this one 42-21. Next game, we've got SMU visiting Oklahoma. This should be a shootout. Oklahoma scored 73 points last week, and SMU's got a great offense as well, as they've got an extremely fast-paced offense, and they should be able to hang around here. Oklahoma is very good this year. Dylan Gabriel looks comfortable at quarterback, and Oklahoma will win this one in a shootout, 52-31. This will be a very entertaining game for Oklahoma pulls away late. Next game is Duke hosting Lafayette. So Duke needs to avoid this being a letdown game after upsetting Clemson. They're also on a short week after they played on Monday, but luckily Duke gets an FCS opponent in Lafayette, and even if they start slow, they should still be able to easily beat a weaker opponent, and I do have Duke getting off to a little bit of a slow start, but Duke wins this one 38-12. Moving on, we've got Oregon visiting Texas Tech. So I thought Texas Tech could be a surprise team this season, and they were a surprise in week 1 alright, but they surprised in the wrong way as they lost 35-33 to Wyoming. I do think Texas Tech comes out of the gate looking strong and looking to get in the win column, but Oregon is just a better team here. Their offense will be too much for Texas Tech to handle. The Oregon offense put up 81 last week. Now, I don't think they're going to be anywhere near 81, but Oregon will win this one 48-24. Next game, we've got Alabama hosting Texas. So we will have a live watch party for the game that will start about 7 p.m. Eastern Time, or a couple minutes before kickoff, where you guys will get to see my live reactions, thoughts to everything as it happens, so I hope to see you guys there. But this is the big game everyone's talking about. These two teams played a great game last year in Texas, where Alabama snuck out with the 20-19 win. This game's a true coin flip. Texas is going to need to do two things if they want to get the win. One is take advantage of the Alabama secondary, which is banged up, and two is shut down the Alabama run game, because I'm still not sold on Jalen Milroe as a passer. So Texas could very well come out of Tuscaloosa with the win here, but Alabama's home, and while I don't think Jalen Milroe is a great passer, or at least he hasn't shown it yet, I think his legs will be the difference in this game, and Alabama wins a close one, 27-24. Moving on, we've got Grambling visiting LSU. LSU's coming off a terrible loss to Florida State and looking to get in the win column for the first time this season. They've got a great chance to do that. Not a ton to say about this game. LSU dominates and wins 52-3. Next game, we've got Wisconsin visiting Washington State. So this is one of the harder games to pick this week. Washington State got the win last year when they went to Madison. They now host this matchup, but this is a Wisconsin team that is a lot better than it was last year. For me, this game comes down to the better offense. Wisconsin's got a great overall offense and a great run game with Braylon Allen, but Washington State has an elite passing attack with Cam Ward. So this is a game that could go either way. I think Wisconsin has the better, more balanced, and better overall offense. They have good passing attack as well as with Tanner Mordecai at quarterback. Plus, they got a great running back in Braylon Allen, and Wisconsin gets to win in a good game, 34-31. Next game is Southern Miss at Florida State. Florida State's coming off a big win over LSU. They've got an easy opponent, and the plan is simple for Florida State this week. Stop the Southern Miss run game and Frank Gore Jr. They will win easily 52-14. Our second to last game is an FCS versus FBS game, and that is Oregon State hosting UC Davis. So UC Davis was great in the opener, but so was Oregon State. Oregon State should easily be the weaker FCS opponent, and they win 49-10. And our final game is USC hosting Stanford. Another game that's going to be a blowout. I don't really think Stanford is good at all. Their offense could be decent, but they're not going to be able to keep up with USC, which scored 66 points last week against Nevada. I think they break 60 again, a little bit of a bold prediction there, and they destroy Stanford 63-20. But those are my Week 2 college football predictions. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, turn on notifications so you don't miss either upcoming videos or a live stream for the Texas against Alabama game, and I hope to see you guys there. Make sure to turn on notifications so you don't miss that. Also, make sure to check out the community tab of my channel where you guys can vote on who you think will win some of this week's big games. But thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, turn on notifications. I do my best to host as often as possible, and I will see you in the next video.